Guys, happy Friday. Today we're going to talk about what happens when that dreaded roof leak happens the day after closing. Stay tuned.
You better get fired up.
Hey, happy Friday. Good seeing you. We're here every single Friday with You've Got Questions, I've Got Answers at 11 o'clock, where we answer the hottest questions in real estate. And today we're going to delve into the question of, my gosh, what happens if the day after I close, all of a sudden I've got a roof leak, or maybe it's the AC isn't working, or a broken window, or whatever it is, you discover something the day after closing. It could be a week after closing, could be a month after closing, but it's shortly after closing. Do you have some sort of recourse? Can you go after the seller? Can you go after the home inspector? What can you do? So first of all, let's talk about the legal responsibilities of a seller. The legal responsibilities of a seller are to disclose anything that negatively impacts the value of the property, right? So that doesn't mean they have to disclose everything. They have to disclose things that negatively impact the value of the property. And they have to disclose things that they're aware of. So legally, if they aren't aware of something, let's say you've got a slow roof leak, you didn't get a home inspection, or your home inspector missed it, and now it's a week after closing, and it's not just coming through the roof that the previous owner could not see, it's coming through your ceiling in your living room, right? And now you can see it. Is the seller responsible? And the answer is going to be probably not. I'm going to say probably in a lot of this because there's a lot of different variables and things that you got to take into consideration, but probably not. Yes, it did negatively impact the value of the property, but no, they weren't aware of it. And you can't disclose things that you're not aware of. So if that happened and there was no way to prove that they had knowledge of it, you're out of luck. The other thing is there are things that don't necessarily negatively impact the value of a property. I'll give you an example of one that I heard an attorney discussing the other day, and she said it was a very gray area, and that is having a private septic instead of public sewer, right? Is that something that negatively impacts the value of a property? Not necessarily. So unless you can prove that A, the person knew, and B, it negatively impacts the value, that's not something that has to be disclosed. I think that's crazy. I would have imagined the answer was just a blanket yes there, but it's not. This attorney also said that she's had a lot of cases where septics have not been divulged before closing, and that a lot of owners don't even know that they have a private system. They just weren't aware. And I know that's true because I've talked to sellers before and they don't know. I have to go figure it out for them. So there are things that don't necessarily negatively impact the value of the property. That is going to be, if you eventually take it to court, that's going to be on the new buyer, the new owner, to prove, right? It negatively impacts the value and they knew about it. And if they didn't disclose it, well, then you're good to go. So what are some of the ways that, man, if it wasn't disclosed, and let's say you have a nefarious seller, right? They were trying to manipulate you. How do you figure that out? Well, first of all, you got to prove that it negatively impacts the value of the property. That rarely is the issue. The septic, I think, is probably the only one where maybe you would think it would, but the court of law may differ in opinion on you or from you. But most things that you're going to have a problem with definitely impact the value of the property. An AC not working definitely impacts the value. A roof leaking definitely impacts the value. But the other thing is they had to have known about it. So where I see people getting into trouble is when, and by people, I mean the previous sellers, is when the new homeowner has a problem. Pick your problem. It doesn't matter. The roof leak, the AC, whatever. And they're outside with the vendor, right? The roofer or the AC guy talking about the problem, and over comes neighbor Bob. And neighbor Bob says, "Oh yeah, you got the same problems Fred had. Yeah, he had the person out there 2 weeks before closing trying to fix that. I don't think they ever did." Really? What vendor did he have out? Oh, it was ABC Roofing. Interesting. Now you can call ABC Roofing and say, "Hey, I own this house. Can you tell me about any previous repairs?" "Yeah, we were out there on this date, which was 2 weeks before closing." "Really, what happened?" "Oh, we said we could fix it. They never called us back to fix it." Interesting. Now you can prove that they were aware of it, did not disclose it, right? Is that always possible? No. In fact, it tends to not be possible more than it is possible. takes some digging, it takes some effort, it takes some knowledge, and it takes some luck. And you're not always going to get that, right? So that's the first thing, right? So what else could you do? You could go after the home inspector. Now, most contracts, if you read the fine print, are going to say that you can only go after the home inspector to the amount that he charged you for the home inspection, right? So read your contract, make sure you understand it. They all say it, or at least most of them say it. So if you don't like that, I mean, you're going to have a tough time finding a home inspector. But now if they miss something, well, what are you going to do about it, right? They charged you $400 for an inspection. In most cases, all you're going to get back is your $400. Meanwhile, you've got $20, $30, $40,000 worth of issues. But again, that inspector has to follow the state guidelines for an inspection. And sometimes the things that they miss are not things that the state demands that they do, or they're not able to be seen. I've got an issue right now. I was not involved with the transaction, but it's a friend of mine where when they pulled the fridge out to do, I forget what they were doing. I think they were just putting a new fridge in. There was all kinds of water damage on the wall directly behind the fridge, but you couldn't see it with the fridge in place. And inspectors are not required, nor do they normally pull fridges out. So that was missed. So is that inspector on the hook? Probably not. And I say probably because there might have been other things involved, right? Maybe there was something else that forced him to move the fridge away from the wall for a second, and that was notated in the inspection. So while it was away, he could have seen it. He didn't mention it. Okay, now he might be on the hook. So there are reasons he might be, but in a lot of cases, he might not be. They're not necessarily checking the insides of walls. So if you've got any inside of the wall issues, it might not be caught, right? So again, liability with an inspector is going to be challenging, not impossible, but challenging, and it also might be limited. Another thing is you could get a home warranty. And a lot of times with some of these bigger inspectors, they've got programs where, hey, if you get my inspection, then you can get 18 months of warranty for the price of 12 months, or you get these added upgrades with the warranty because you used us for the inspection or whatever. There's other warranty programs not associated with inspectors that you can also look at. And the one that I look at, I think they're all roughly the same. There's differences, obviously, but the one that I tend to recommend most from memory, I think it's either a $75 deductible or a $99 deductible. And it covers just about anything that passed in your inspection. So if it wasn't negatively notated in your inspection, it's covered. And I want to say they're, maybe $600 to $1,000 a year, depending upon the square footage of your house. And there's add-ons for things that they don't cover, like pools or septics, right? Different things like that. I just did a video a couple weeks ago on home inspection, so feel free to check that out if that interests you. But I always tell people, if you're really tight on money and you've only got $2-3 grand to your name and you're a homeowner, you might want to pay for a home warranty because you might be able to afford the $600 to $1,000, but you can't afford $5-10 grand if your AC goes out, right? Well, closer to $8 to $12 grand. So you might want to really consider getting that warranty until you've saved up maybe 10-15,000 in a fund. Now, if you've got an emergency, you've got some funds for it. But until then, you might want a warranty. For people who've got the 10-15 grand in their bank account for an emergency, I wouldn't really worry about it. You can take care of it yourself with your own funds, right? You're self-insuring in that case. So, guys, there you go. That is all the different scenarios that include you after closing and what it is that you can go after if you have problems after closing. I will say, though, it's common. I mean, welcome to home ownership. I know even when I purchased my home, we had issues within the first 6 to 12 months after. They're just bound to happen, right? The question is, does it impact your value negatively? And did the seller know about it? If you can show those two things, you might have a case. Guys, thanks for joining me. Again, we're here every single Friday at 11 o'clock where we answer your biggest questions on the Treasure Coast. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend. Take care.